This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and good things can come in affordable packages. This is the Moto Z Play, or the full name is Moto Z Play Droid. Can we have enough words in that name? That's Lenovo's influence their naming, because Lenovo owns Moto now, for those of you who don't know that. We've reviewed the Moto Z. We've reviewed the Moto Z Force, and this one is the more affordable alternative, though it has one thing in common with the Z Force, a ginormous 3500 milliamp battery, but you get the same lovely build quality. That's pretty, isn't it? It's also available in black and in kind of gray if you don't like the white and gold so much, but I think it's pretty nice looking. Works with all the Moto mods, so you've got that glassy looking back there and the connectors over here. Lots of Moto mods now, battery packs, speakers, projectors, and even the Hasselblad camera back. $408. Let's say yay for round pricing, huh? For that, you're going to get a pretty decent Snapdragon CPU, phenomenal battery life, a nice 1080p AMOLED display, 16 megapixel camera. This is the year of the affordable Android phone, and the $400-ish kind of range is tough. There's a lot of competition where you're getting almost flagshipy, but I have to say this is one of the classiest and perhaps even compelling in terms of battery life and the expandability that you can get for that amount of money. It's available on Verizon, and there's also an unlocked GSM model for those of you who just don't want to have any carrier involvement. Worth looking at, which is what we're going to do now. So the phone has a 1920 by 1080 AMOLED display that works out to 403 ppi. That's plenty high. It's a nice enough looking display. It's really colorful. It's nice and sharp, and I don't feel like, oh, I wish I had QHD. The back is, well, pretty when you put one of these shells on. It's also pretty without one of these shells too. I like that white glass look, but you can put in any number of style shells, and the black nylon herringbone is supposed to be included, though we got a light kind of a driftwood looking one with ours. Look at that. The headphone jack is here. Hey, the other Moto Zs, they didn't have the headphone jack. They instead have a USB-C to headphone adapter. So for those of you who are fond of your headphone jack, it's a win. So the claim to fame here is the battery life, 3500 milliamp. That's the same as the Moto Z Force, but obviously you have a lower power Snapdragon 625 CPU, and you've got a 1080p display instead of a higher resolution QHD display. That's a recipe for good battery life. And while they claim 50 hours, they don't mean you're actually using it the entire 50 hours, folks. They mean 50 hours pass before you plug it into the charger again. It's always going to be optimistic, the manufacturer's claim. But I did find that with light to moderate use, I managed 2 days. No problem with this. That's pretty darned impressive. So even if you use it heavily, I mean, GPSing, Pokemoning, that sort of thing, you might, well, Pokemon Go, you know, that's tough, but you might make it through a whole day, even then, going crazy with the phone. So pretty impressive. Turbocharger in the box, too, so it charges quickly. So your nano SD card slot and micro SD card slot are here. Here's Moto's handy poking tool. This thing is pretty stubborn to come out, but there we go. So here, obviously, this looks like it's set up potentially for a second SIM. Probably in overseas markets in the United States, we don't see dual SIM phones, but that's where a nano SIM goes, and right there is where your SD card goes. So it's a little bit annoying that you got one on each side, so you got to make sure you got them clipped in firmly and don't drop on them when you're putting it back inside. The unlocked version of this will be coming out, and that will be unlocked GSM. So you people in AT&T and T-Mobile in the United States, GSM carriers overseas will be able to get this as well. This one that we have in our hands is the Verizon edition, which is why it gets the little droid moniker. This has a sleep screen, but unlike the Samsung Galaxy Note 7 that has the always-on screen, with this one you have to move it around or you can tap it and then you can see your status over here. But most impressive, I think, is the fingerprint scanner here. It is so quick. You can just rest your finger there. You don't have to turn on the phone first. That was actually unlocking with the fingerprint scanner. That's how quick it is. So we'll turn it off again and turn it on, just so you can see it's prompting for the fingerprint, and boom. It's really well done. The only thing that drives me crazy is that it doesn't double as the home button. So instinctively, especially if you're playing a full screen game or looking at photos or something like that, you just start to tap there. That's not going to do anything except for, well, turn the phone back off again. There's an option. You can actually lock the phone by pressing and holding here. You know, it goes off and goes back on again. So that's the one thing that drives me crazy about 10 times a day. Maybe you'll get more used to it than I have. The phone is running Moto's usual near stock version of Android. This is Android 6 Marshmallow. We hope that it continues to get updates quickly as past Motos have done. And you can see here the settings are pretty much straightforward stuff. very few Moto customizations, obviously one for the Moto mod, so it's very vanilla, shall we say, and is wildly optimized. I mean, this is just the fastest phone. It feels like a Snapdragon 820. I really am impressed with the optimization they've done here. So usually when you go with a $400 phone, well, you know, there are exceptions. You can get a OnePlus 3, that sort of thing. But if you get a less expensive phone from one of the major makers, often the performance is going to suffer. It's not suffering at all here. Even games, you would think, wow, games are going to suffer. No, not so much. The performance here is absolutely sweet. And listen to the speaker. Single speaker right over here. Pretty loud and pretty full, though, I have to say. And you can see I'm zipping around here. Really wishing this had good left-handed controls at the moment, being left-handed as I am. This is not a mid-range CPU experience at all. That is very fast and very fluid, and that's a pretty demanding 3D shooter game. So, yeah, you're not really giving up on performance here somehow. Really, kudos to Moto and Lenovo for that. So the camera is pretty much the same camera app on the other Moto Zs. 16 megapixels here, so that's a pretty decent amount of resolution, isn't it? It's not a bad camera overall, but here's what the interface looks like. You've got your timer, you've got your flash control, and you swipe out to get even more controls here as well. And then there's a advanced picture taking mode if you want, and here you can adjust the brightness and the contrast right there if you wish to, using that wheel. So pretty straightforward stuff, pretty easy to do. You can also do a tap to focus. Well, I've confused the camera completely. There we go, back in focus again. It has both laser autofocus and phase detection autofocus, so those are two state-of-the-art focusing mechanisms, and it works pretty well. So how are the actual images? Well, here you can see outdoors in diffuse but good lighting. It's pretty sharp, it's pretty colorful. Here, water is a challenge, and I don't see a whole lot of whiteout going on. It's pretty good. And indoors here, the kitty, well, the kitty is not well exposed. We're losing detail. We have white out in the white section of the fur. The rest of it is kind of lacking that detail. Despite the 1.3 pixel sizes in the sensor, it's not up there with the Moto Z Force or the Samsung Galaxy S7, you know, but it's not bad either, is it? And it can shoot 4K video, and you have panorama mode and slow-mo video, so it's not exactly a bare-bones camera. It's decent. It's just not class-leading, but at this price, we don't expect class-leading either. And it may be at the low end of the totem pole, but it's compatible with all of these Moto mods, extended batteries, projectors, the Hasselblad camera that you can see there bottom center, which is pretty neat. We'll have a separate review of this Hasselblad camera, by the way, which is pretty neat, but also kind of expensive at $300. So it's nice that you don't have to buy the high-end phone to get that kind of versatility. We have the JBL speaker module here for some pretty rockin' sound with stand built in. And that's what sets it apart from some of the competitors here. You know, the $400 price range, it's enough money that you want to be picky about what you're spending it on. And sure, the OnePlus 3 and the ZTE Axon 7 are going to have more horsepower, the Snapdragon 820. The Huawei Honor 8, well, it doesn't have as much horsepower as those, but it still benchmarks quicker than the Moto. But you know what? The Moto feels experientially faster than the Honor 8. And you do get that build quality, the nice looks, and the mods. It really depends on what you want. It's nice to have options in the $400 category. So that's the Moto Z Play. It is available now. You can get it on moto.com. And if you're a Verizon customer, you can also get it from Verizon. And honestly, it's a really nice phone for the price. And it performs like a phone with a faster CPU inside. It takes pretty good pictures. It has a nice screen. There's a lot to like here, and you're only spending, well, $408. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos.